Hi everybody, welcome to the LNROOM. I'm Tony Alden, and today in this episode 21 we're going to write a Node.js command line application that can create invoices. To do so we are going to use the library lnmessage and the plugin commando. So we are going to have two nodes, L1 and L2, running on the reg test, and our command line application invoice.js will connect to the node L2 using lnmessage, and we'll send commando messages. With those commando messages, what we tell the node L2 is to run certain command, and specifically we want to run the command invoice. This will be possible in the case we have the right authorization, and this is done via the rules that the node L2 can produce. So we can see at the bottom how does this look at the command line. So invoice.js takes two arguments. The first one is the amount of the invoice, and the second one is the description, and return the same JSON object that would be written by the command invoice normal. So let's get started. We have our terminal. We have invoice.js file that we're going to fill, and the Lightning repository. Let's use that script startup reg test to start two nodes on the reg test chain. So we can use that command start ln. This will start bitcoind on reg test, and also two node L1 on L2. We can check the alias of L2 CLI that we are going to use during the video. So L2-CLI is for Lightning CLI with a specific directory which is temporary L2-reg test. So we have two nodes running on reg test. Now we need something before we continue, is to install the library lnmessage. Okay, so now that we've installed it, we just have to change the type to be module. So right now this is okay, and let's take a look at invoice.js. So we import lnmessage and also net, because we need a net to have a TCP socket. Let's just try if it's this work like that. Invoice full. So let's go. We can start working with that. So the beauty of lnmessage and the plugin commando is that to run commands and get information about our node, or tell our node to do stuff, we need to connect to the node. Once we're connected, we use the messages that can be sent between nodes in the Lightning network to learn to send specific commando messages with the right rune. But first, let's see the connection part. So we need ln, so we need a new ln message object. So we need to specify the node we want to connect to. So this is the node L2 on our case. We use TCP socket, but lnmessage can run on the browser and use WebSocket too. The IP of the node and the port. So let's go back to our terminal and now get the information that we need to add in the lnmessage instantiation. So get info JQ, and we just need the ID and also binding. So here they are. So maybe we can do that. So invoice at the top. Okay, so we want the node. Okay, the IP, which is local host, and also the port. What next? So we are going to connect, as we are going to use connected the value true or false of connecting after. We write it right now, and await of the ln connect. So this will do the connection to the node L2. Let's go to a terminal, take the alias of L2, open. So yes, we open a new terminal. So you can see at the bottom the number added to get if we are in the first terminal or the second terminal, because I just want I just want to show you the connection path. This is important. Right now L2 has no peer. So if we list the peers, this is what we get. Okay, so what we can do is to open. So at the bottom, okay, we have the first terminal, and here we have the second terminal. Let's run our invoice, which will just connect right now to the node if we wrote the things correctly. Now let's check if we have a new peers, and yes, we have a new peers, which is the invoice.js script, and we can see that the features that support the node are known. So because it will just be used to send commando messages. So this is important to really get that when we use commando and the library that use commando, even if we don't see that when we are using the API that is simple, we connect to the node. So let's quit that, and now continue our journey in lnmessage library. Next thing, we want, if we are connected, what can we do? Well, now we first we are going to send commando message with the method getInfo. So just to check that this is working, and then we are going to do it with the method invoice, because this is our goal in that video. So let's call that variable, that constant getInfo. Now this is an async method function. We call commando, and we have to pass it some information. So what are the information that we want? What is the method that we want to run? In our case right now, we want to run getInfo. We need also to specify the parameters. The getInfo method, we don't pass it any parameters, so we let the empty array, and the important part is to give it the run. So the run is an authorization token that will let us run commands or not, depending on the restriction attached to the run. So we need a run right now. Let's go back to the first terminal and generate a run to let the invoice.js script get some access to the node. So we use commando run, and we get that run here at the top. And this is an unrestricted run, so there is a warning. It's really, we have to take care when we use an unrestricted run, because we can really run any command on the node. So we can, for instance, run withdraw and steal the funds of the node, for instance. So after, we are going to restrict that node only to the invoice command, and we'll see how to do that. But we are in local, so we can do those kind of things without any fear. This should work, and as we want to see something here, let's print get info, and as we are here, let's also disconnect in order to stop that script. Let's see if this is okay. Yes. So what it works, we can see that this is the information about the node that we add. What did happen? So we can go back to that part of the script, and then we are going to go further and look at the invoice. We instantiate an lnmessage object. We need the node ID of the node L2. We need a TCP socket, the IP and the port of the node. Then we connect to the node. At least we try to connect. If we are connected, we run the instance, the method commando, which will with those information, which are the method getInfo, no params, the run, which let us run any command, but in that case, the getInfo command. So we send a command message to the node L2. The node L2 sends us back the information. There is no error. So in getInfo, we have the result that has been run on L2. We print it and we disconnect. So this is a whole, to get started with lnmessage, this is the only thing that has to be understood to get started. Let's go a little bit further to make it like we want it to be. So as we are writing a command line application that only are going to generate or create invoices. We don't want to use that run, that unrestricted run. So let's see, I have, so the main page of commando run. We can see that we can pass two arguments, the run and the restriction. The first time we passed nothing, so that generated a run, an unrestricted run, and now we are going to use the same run, so that we can call a master run, and we are going to produce another run, a descendant of that master run with a specific restriction to authorize to only run invoice commands. Was a little bit hard to say, but let's go. So L1 CLI dash key to pass with key value parameters, commando run, and now we pass it the run that is that we were using, that master run, and we want restriction, so we want an array of alternatives of a restriction, and we want the method to be only invoice. So we close everything, and we get a new rule that we are going to use in the invoice script in place of the unrestricted rule. And what is interesting right now is that we are going to generate an error because we are not authorized to run the getinfo command on the node L2, because that rule restricts the use to invoice. Let's check that. Okay, so we get an error, and the message that has been produced by the node L2 is this one: not authorized, method is not equal to invoice. So let's just do a try catch of that error, and finally we after that we'll use, so maybe this is the only part that we use, and finally we will use, I'm losing my words. Yes, and finally then we'll change the getinfo method for the invoice method. So we can pass this. So we try to do that. We are going to get an error, but if it works, we want to print out getinfo. And see if we get the error. We want to print that error on the standard error stream. Okay, so normally we get something a little bit different. So we just have the error that we catch that ln.commando gives us. So we've treated the case that run allows us only to run the invoice command. Okay, let's look at the main page of the invoice command. So this is the main page. I have already it open in my editor. So we need to pass it at least those 3 arguments. Okay, fine. In the params there, we need to pass those arguments. But before we do that, we'll change the getinfo, which is going to be now invoice. So we want to run the invoice. We set the constant invoice to the results we get from ln.commando, and we print that after if it works. Now we have those 3 keys that we want. So amount. Let's start with 10 pardon millisat. A label invoice, and then the description, as always, pizza. Let's see if this is working. So we've seen before, not authorized to run something that is not the invoice method. So now we get an invoice. Okay, so this is super cool. We have the invoice. Let's use that command that is provided with the first script that we sourced at the beginning from the Lightning repository, which will found a channel from the node 1 to the node 2. That way we will pay that invoice to see that really what we did is to connect to the node L2, generate an invoice, get the invoice, and we pay the invoice with the node L2. So it takes a little bit of time. So while this is doing, we go back here, and now, okay, so we're just waiting. And maybe something more interesting to see while we are waiting is that diagram, that we really see what we are doing. So invoice.js connect to L2 via lnmessage. We send commando messages with a rune. If the rune gives us the right authorization with the right command and other restriction that we don't look at right now, we may be able to run that command on L2, give us the result. What we did is we send an invoice, and now we are sending a channel from L1 to L2, and we want to pay that invoice. And then I think we have two things to do after, and maybe a little bit of refactoring at the end. Go, go, go. Okay, we have it. So let's grab okay, so this one, so we grab the Bolt 11 invoice. L1 we go at the top, L1 CLI, and we pay that invoice. Okay, so this is working. What happened if we generate, we try to generate again that invoice? Ha! Duplicate label inv. So this is the error that the node L2 sent us, because we tried to generate a new invoice with the same label. So this is impossible. So let's just change that with something random. At that point we don't care, just that it must be different. Let's see if with that that works. So now within that, so this is working correctly. Now we would like to pass those parameters that are right now hard-coded, so the amount and the description, and we want them at as argument of the command line. So we are going to grab them here. So msat, and also what is the next one? So description, and this is process argv, and we don't want the first two, so we should have amount and description. We have to change those value with the description. So now this is no longer hard-coded, and we should be able to do something like that. Then pardon, still want a pizza, and now okay, so process process is not defined. So this would have been caught by a linter, but I don't like linters. Yes, so this is working. We have it working, and the last thing that we can do is to put the variable to add some constant at the top to see that we need a rune, and we need some information that are from the outside world of that script, and we put them at the top. And if you want to adapt that script, or maybe we want them to be environment variable, I don't know. This is not the purpose of the video right now, but just to see that those things comes from running command on the node L2. So, for instance, that rune, this is something that we get from the node L2 before we run up before we run our script. So we have the two runes. So we've changed. We have that variable. Let's also do the same for the node ID, IP, and port. So those one, and now we want public key, the port, and the IP that we get that way. It's okay. Just we rename that IP, port. We now have to change those here. So the node ID, we are almost done. The node IP and the port. Let's check if it works. So another one. So this is working. So we've done what we wanted to do, which is to write a Node.js command line application that can create invoices using lnmessage and the commando plugin. So we did it on two nodes running on the reg test, and maybe before we stop that video, we can have a look at the whole script, whole application. So we need some information to instantiate lightning message class. Okay, so we need the node ID, we need the IP, we need a port, and also we need a TCP socket. So we instantiate that object that we call ln. Then something that is really specific to lnmessage and how the commando plugin works, we connect to the node L2 and we act as if we were a node. Then if we are connected, we want to send a commando message in order to run the invoice method with those parameters that amount sat and description we get them from the command line arguments, and we can run that command method that method invoice only if we have the right rune and we restricting the rune to the invoice method. So in that case it works. And finally we log, we print out the invoice, and if we were connected because everything was working, we disconnect. So this is all I have for you and for me today. I hope this was helpful, and I see you in the next video. Bye!